This feels weird to be riding a bicycle again. It's been so long.
In this week's video, we're gonna show you some of the best that Thailand has to offer when it comes to culture, religion, architecture, history and nature.
Can we call it the only video about Thailand you should ever watch?
Nah, we're not that vain, and we want to make more videos about Thailand that we also want people to watch.
We are Nick and Lens. For the last 5 years, we have been traveling to some of the most amazing nature places on the planet. And now we embarked on an epic journey to experience naturism in every continent of the world. Subscribe and travel along with us. Right now, we are in Asia.
If the name Ayutthaya doesn't ring a bell, it's probably going to surprise you that once this was one of the largest cities in the world. But that was a couple of hundreds of years ago when it was still the capital of Thailand. The name translates as the unconquerable, and if you look at the map you can see why. It's surrounded by a river which makes this some kind of an island. It wasn't a bad nickname because for more than 400 years the city actually remained unconquerable until the Burmese attacked and actually conquered the city somewhere in the late 1760s. Today the capital obviously moved to Bangkok, which left Ayutthaya as just one very large UNESCO heritage site.
I really wonder where they keep the hats. I mean, in all of this place, there's not a single statue that has a hat. It's weird because as far as I know, the Burmese were also Buddhist or Hindu, so there's no reason to cut them off or something. It's a pity that there are no information signs anywhere. Otherwise, we would tell you and we would know the reason of the statues without a hat. Here all the little statues, they don't have heads anymore, but the big one does. And I think just over time, because the neck is the most fragile part of a statue, they just fell off and maybe left it somewhere and they restored the big one. Maybe that is a decent explanation.
This temple is called Wat Mahathat, by the way, and interestingly, one of the things that makes this temple so popular among tourists is actually a head stuck between the roots of a tree. This is just one of the many temples in Ayutthaya, and they are all a little bit spread around the city, and that's why this morning we decided to rent a bike for the outrageous amount of 50 baht a day. That's like less than 2 euros.
Our coffee was more expensive than our bike for the day.
Our next temple is Wat Ratchaburana. It's right next door of where we were earlier, and there are a lot fewer people here, which is kind of strange because I think this one is much more impressive than the other one.
It's not only impressive, you can also climb it if you don't fall.
It's a pity that we can't fly the drone here because it must be a very impressive sight from the air, especially because there are more than 50 different temples in this area. I don't really know why anyone would need more than 50 temples in a city. It's probably just because every time there was a new emperor, they wanted their own temple and their own palace. So anyway, it's a very big place and there are lots of temples. We're not going to take you with us into all of them because we imagine that it's probably a bit boring, especially because we also don't have, most of the time we don't have an idea of what we're looking at either. So we'll just give you some highlights. So far this religious intermezzo. If you know a thing or two about Asian architecture, you may have recognized several different styles, and if you're more like us, it probably all looked a little bit the same. But that doesn't take away that it's very impressive. Our next stop is the Palace of the Elephant. I'm not sure what to expect, but you have to admit that it speaks to the imagination.
Let's go!
Apparently this is not a real palace, but it's mostly a place where you can have rides on elephants. I'm not sure what I have to think about this, because on one hand, Thailand has a very long tradition of domesticating elephants for all kinds of reasons. But on the other hand, there are also the many horror stories about elephants being treated very badly just for tourism. So you never know, and it's not that we are really looking forward to sit on an elephant. We prefer seeing animals in the wild, and that is exactly what we are going to do next. Today we have to go a little bit further away, so we got ourselves a slightly different type of transportation. If you would look on Google about how to get around in Thailand, motorbikes are probably the most common thing. It's not just because they're so convenient, but also because they're so ridiculously cheap. We paid about 300 baht, which is 9 euros, to rent this motorbike for 24 hours. And we rented from a guy who has like a monopoly in Pak Chong, in the village where we rented it from. In other places it's probably a lot cheaper.
It's a good thing that we came to Thailand right after South Africa, because I'm still used to driving on the left side of the road.
We're at Khao Yai National Park, which is, I believe it's one of the oldest national parks in Thailand, and it's also one of the most popular ones. And it has been nominated a couple of times as one of the most beautiful national parks in the whole world. And it's also not a cheap one. The entrance fee is more than the rental of our motorbike. But we've heard that it's worth it. A motorbike is the best way to come to the park if you don't want to come with a tour.
And the most awesome way.
But if you want to see some animals, it's better to walk. The reason why most people come to this park is because I believe they have the largest herd of wild elephants in all of Thailand. So just like everybody else, we definitely hope to see some of those. But there are lots of other animals here. There are monkeys, birds, there are even bears. And there should also be some tigers left. I don't think that we want to see one of those, because it's quite likely that it would be the last thing we ever see. But maybe from a distance, from an altitude or so.
If you want to see animals, maybe you should be more quiet.
Okay, so we will try to vlog in silence. You can really feel the humidity here. Well, this is the dry season, and in most of the cities and the towns in Thailand there's quite a dry heat right now. But here in the forest it's really humid. We picked one of the easier trails, by the way, and not just because our physical condition is not that spectacular, but also because we only have one day and we like to see a couple of different places, just not spend it all on one hiking trail. A lot of the trees have name tags here, and it makes me realize that I don't know much more about Thai forests than I do about Thai temples. But for some reason in nature it doesn't bother me that much. It matters less. And I'm not really sure why. It's probably because nature is here anyway, and I don't feel the need to know every name of a tree or how they grow or what their background is. I can just appreciate it like that, whereas at the temples it was more like, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of difficult to appreciate it.
We once heard, I don't remember where it was, but if your tree has like these whitish things on it. It looks like fungus. Actually, it is not. It is a sign that the tree is healthy and also that the air is healthy. So basically we are walking in healthy air. Hearing things in the woods and it gets me so excited every time. But the forest is just so dense to see anything. I mean, how cool would it be if just a regular elephant or something else, not dangerous, just crosses our path, like being chill?
I have to look it up, but I think that elephants are among the most dangerous animals in the world.
Yeah, okay, but they're so cute, and as long as they don't flap their ears, we're fine.
Long story short, if you want to go for a forest hike, maybe you should not choose guide Linz if you want to remain safe. But on the other hand, if you like living on the edge, she will be the perfect guide.
To everybody who does want me as a guide, leave it in the comments. Elephant poop. It is dry. So it's been here for days, maybe weeks, I don't know. It
doesn't look very fresh.
No.
But one day or another, an elephant has been on this place. We are at the end of our first hiking trail. We haven't seen any significant wildlife yet. At a certain point, Linz did think that she heard an elephant, but that could also have been a bird and a lot of wishful thinking. But a walk in nature is never a waste of time, and there are lots of other places that we can visit. And the next stop on our itinerary is probably the most famous place of the whole national park.
Is it the waterfall from the beach?
I was hoping to build it up a little bit, but yes, it's the waterfall of the movie The Beach, you know, the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right, let's do it! Alright, motherfucker! Hustlers!
This is how you look when you're driving a motorbike.
You should be watching for animals, elephants, and not filming me. Come on, elephants.
If you haven't seen the movie, it's basically about a guy who ends up in a sect somewhere on an island in Thailand. It's fiction, of course, and it has been filmed on different locations in Thailand. And one of this is here in the national park. It's a waterfall called Khao Yai or something. It's clearly dry season because the waterfall doesn't look anything like the sign, but waterfalls are always cool.
I was expecting a lot more people on the trail and on the waterfall, because the movie was popular. It was not a big hit, but I mean, it was with Leonardo DiCaprio. And yes, I was in love with him when I was a teenager. Love you, Leo.
If I love you harder than I've ever done before, oh, maybe I belong somewhere above the
As a big fan of Leo, how does it feel to be on the same place where he once was?
Can't talk. It's amazing. It is beautiful. But I think in the movie there were two waterfalls. But indeed, it's not rainy season, so it's dry season. That's why there's less water. But I mean, the connection that I now have with Leo, we are bonded for life.
We were considering watching the movie again before we came to Thailand, but it's not really a happy story and it's not really the thing you want to see before you come to Thailand.
But we did see The Serpent, and it's a Netflix series about a serial killer in Bangkok. True story. And that was more than enough.
So far the romantic part of this video. Now let's try again to find some animals. What do you think? Could this be elephant territory?
Possible, but I don't think so because we are very close to the visitor center right here. So I don't think, well, you never know.
Maybe
It's
elephants
nature.
like visitors.
That's true, that's true. And that's so cool about nature. You never know. You never know.
She was making a face to me. I'm not really sure what that means.
How cool is this? We are surrounded by monkeys, like everywhere. Hi there. Hi.
I could just sit here forever. If maybe a monkey is throwing sticks at me. And I could just sit here forever. If I would have known that this was gonna happen, we would just have left out all the temples and all the rest of the jungle and just made a monkey video. If you want us to make a monkey video next time, leave it in the comments. Now the question is, how do you pass by a monkey on the road? Let's try.
You are not that interested.
This happens to us every single time. We hang around in national parks from morning till evening, but the cool stuff always happens just before we are ready to leave. It's just a pity that we didn't get to see any elephants, because up to now the only elephants we've seen in Thailand have been in captivity. We did learn a couple of things today. One is that even though elephants are big animals, they are still difficult to spot. And also that Leonardo DiCaprio may not be as famous as we thought he was. And of course that this park, one day in this park, is definitely not enough.
No.
But we have to keep going on because we have a big problem. 10 lines. So we are going to Pattaya to try out some nature's places. But that's for our next video. So if you don't want to miss that,
Make sure to subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video, please give us a big fat thumbs up, and we just see you in our next video. Bye!
bye. Just when we thought that there were no dangerous animals in this park, we saw this.
It's the deer that we have to worry about.